The Geekazine Weekly Podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network found at www.techpodcast.com. If it's tech, then it's here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I just realized I didn't load up the right sound bite here, so when I do that, this is Jeffrey Powers. Welcome to the Geekazine Weekly Podcast, episode number 183. We are running out of numbers. No, we've got more numbers to go. We've got a lot of cool stuff on the interweb that we're going to be talking about today, including the Zynga, everything Zynga today. It's kind of weird. And, of course, we're talking about Nikon cameras and cameras that you can put film into and take digital pictures and all this other good stuff. And most importantly, the Libyan WLYs. If you've got websites out there with WLY, you might want to check it out. All this and that usual scrubby that we find on the interweb to pull all the information off. So let's get started, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Geekazine Weekly Podcast. I am your humble host, Jeffrey Powers, finding the right cure for you for all your internet ailment needs and a whole bunch of Lego dresses to go. Lego dresses to go. How you doing? It is episode number 183 of the Geekazine Weekly Podcast. Just a smidgen bit late from the regular scheduled show time, but we've got it going here, and of course I'm set up for everything. Got a brand new computer in this mix, so if you see me moving over, I haven't really positioned it right. It's this one over here, and I'm just testing it out, make sure the audio and video, you're going to see it. You're gonna see it over there at geekazine.com. That's where you go for all the cool stuff over at geekazine.com. And of course, we're going to be working on some other stuff, going to be changing up a little bit here, adding some stuff in the background a little bit. You know, I haven't done green screen on the Geekazine Weekly Podcast. I do have the green screen capability. Heck, I have a whole green wall behind me. But I've decided not to do green screen on this. I might do some different things. You know, you've seen this whole, this one right here, and I know it's not perfect right now, where that takes that green screen. You see some irregularity right there because of shadows. But we're going to try some different things as we move along in the Geekazine Weekly Podcast. It's not going to get away from the format. The audio version, you're going to still have the audio version the same way. You're going to still have the video version the same way as well. Speaking of audio versions, I do have to apologize to some of you out there. I got called on it. Apparently, I had a little buzz going in there, and I couldn't figure out why. It was the late night edition, so there might have been some extra stuff going on electricity-wise, but I think I figured it out. I nailed it down. As you know, I'm down in the Geek Studio, which is technically a basement. And the basement's, you know, it's been pretty darn cold. And so I decided, you know, like I'll pay the $30, get myself a little space heater, and turn it on. I thought the space heater was on a separate circuit. Apparently, it wasn't. So when I turned it on, all of a sudden I got a buzz. And there was only one other show that had that. And I thought to myself, geez, I'm wondering what that is. And I couldn't hear the buzz. And I test everything before I go. I didn't hear any buzzes as I was going along. Did some initial recordings, no buzzes. Okay, maybe the space heater could keep the space heater on. So I turned on the space heater last week because it was middle of the night and it was cold down here. And I didn't turn it off before I started the show. And apparently it caused a buzz. So hopefully that little wobble, it was a very non-obtrusive wobble, but it was still a wobble nonetheless. So hopefully the sound is a lot better. Of course, if it isn't, let me know, and we will. I will take care of it for you. So, of course, if this is the first time you're listening, the first time you're watching, hopefully you're not experiencing a warble or a wobble or any other type of obble out there. I hope you're just getting one great podcast out of everything out there. And I know there's a lot of podcasts, a lot of tech podcasts out there. And I'm just one little podcast out there in the show sea of millions. And I try and get stuff, and I try and improve stuff every single week. And then, of course, I find some fallbacks. a big fallback I found this week was I went up on iTunes and I looked at my iTunes for the Geekazine weekly podcast video, and then I noticed something. It wouldn't load on my 3GS. Yeah, I have an iPhone 3GS, no 4. I didn't try iPhone 4. Then I went back to the other shows, and the Geekazine, the 5 tech things you should know about, the review, the videos we did for the Midwest Gaming Classic. None of those would load on my 3GS, and I thought I could have swore I had all the settings set for being able to play on a 3GS. And I think it's the 720 that's really going. So I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do. Do I put on an SD version, and then you get the iTunes SD version, or you get the HD version? I'm gonna test this on an iPhone 4. I got a couple friends out there that have iPhone 4s, so I'm gonna check that out and see if that if I can get my stuff over on iPhone 4. Eventually, it's not gonna really matter for the 3GS because you just can't go backwards compatible. And maybe that's what I should think about. I mean, in the next 2 months, ladies and gentlemen, in the next 2 months, 3GSs will be bye-bye. In 2 months, they'll have iPhone 5s out, and then the iPhone 4s will be like $99 for 8 gigabyte models. Think about that. Now, of course, if you are also on the unlimited plan on AT&T, well, guess what? In a couple months, that's going to go bye-bye too. Think about it. When you up your phone, that 2-year contract, after that 2-year contract, what are they going to do? They're going to switch you to a plan. Either the low-end data plan or the high-end data plan. I'm assuming that they're going to switch you to the high-end data plan. And then you've got to go to AT&T and say, no, I want the low-end data plan. But you're without contract. Maybe they'll say, no, you got to sign a contract for that low-end data plan. Well, then you go, well, I might as well just buy a brand new iPhone or an Android phone or a Windows phone or something like that. Okay, but still 2-year contract. Well, I'll go over to Verizon. No difference there. 2-year contract. Well, I'll go to Sprint because they got unlimited plans still. Yeah, maybe, but there's still a 2-year contract. You see where I'm getting at here? Your iPhone. So the question is, going back to the original part of the question is, should there be a version for 3GS? In a couple months, it won't make much of a difference. I'll test it on iPhone 4. I'll let you know. I'm pretty sure, I bet you it works on iPhone 4 with the high definition. But if that's the case, then I'm going to push, and I'm not going to really look backwards compatibility. I'm sorry for some of you that have older versions of iPhones. You can always go up to YouTube and get the low-end version. Just subscribe to me on the YouTube channel, and you'll get the lower version. So, hey, did you guys get fooled by the April Fool's jokes? We had a ton of them out there. Of course, we had, at Geekazine, we had our own little April Fool's joke, and I like to congratulate Flora Splangle. I think that's how I pronounced it. It was April Fool's. It was an anagram for April Fool's. Flora won the Buy Me an iPad. And I tried it. You know, a lot of people were saying, okay, well, we'll just do April Fool's on April Fool's. So I figured, well, I might as well lead up to it. So I ran a little contest, Buy Me an iPad. The winner would buy me an iPad too. And I had actually a few people that registered. And it's like, oh, well, okay. Yeah, thank you very much for registering. So, but we made a fictitious name. It was not really a contest. It was an April Fool's contest. So, some of you bought. Some of you questioned about it. It's like, why am I entering a contest to buy you an iPad too? I was like, because you can. I don't know. You still want to buy me an iPad too? You're more than welcome to. Just drop me a line over at geekazine@gmail.com. Geekazine@gmail.com. All right. I'm working on trips to New York and to Las Vegas. May, New York, Blog World New Media Expo. In June, first week in June, I'm going out to Vegas for the HP, the new HP convention. That was a HP Tech Forum. Now it's going to be something new. So I got some phone calls we're going to talk to in the next week or so. I'll have more information once I go on there. But of course, if you want to support my trip out to Blog World New Media Expo, feel free to drop me a line. You can always PayPal me at geekazine@gmail.com if you'd like to donate some money towards the cause. But because, you know, it's going to cost me some money. I'm going to get some sponsors, but I'm going to make some great videos for you out at Blog World New York. And I'm going to meet a lot of people. I'm hoping to meet a lot of people over on the East Coast because in the last 2 years, we focused on the West Coast, meeting all the West Coast people, and there were some East Coast people we met. But now, I have an opportunity to be in the East Coast, in New York City, media capital of the world, and that's what I'm really excited about. So I'm going to work on getting some sponsors and go from there. Excuse me. If you go over to Geekazine.com, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you know this, but 2 weeks ago, GoDaddy had a small little problem on the website. 2 legacy servers dropped down. And because of that, all of a sudden, they scrambled to get things back up. Geekazine was slow for about a week, and I've been working hard with GoDaddy to get them back up and running. And yes, I still use GoDaddy. And I know there's some of you that are going, and we'll talk about that in a second. But right now, Geekazine, I'd say about 98% of the time it's up. But every now and then when you go to Geekazine.com, you're going to get a 500 error. Just reload the page. And I know that's not the best answer for it, but it's the only answer I have right now. So, but that's over at Geekazine.com. We got the 500 errors. I'm trying to clean that up. I also cleaned up a lot of old plugins. There were a couple plugins I thought were working on my website, and it turned out that they weren't. And I started looking at all the plugins that I have over at Geekazine, and I noticed a fair amount of plugins that haven't been updated in over a year. And I went over to their websites, and the websites were gone. So I'm assuming that the plugin was pretty much gone. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have WordPress websites out there, you might want to go through your especially WordPress websites that have been around for a while. You might want to go in and check all your plugins and make sure that those plugins at least have been checked for updates. At least, because there's some plugins that through time they won't need any major updates. But every now and then they'll have to go and fix them. If I have a website, I have a plugin, and I'm actually working on a plugin myself. If WordPress changes the page, I'll reflect on the page saying, hey, we know there's a new version of WordPress out there, and as far as we know, there's no problems. But we'll see what happens. In the meantime, if you do have WordPress, check your plugins. You might find that some of your plugins are not working. They might work the wrong way for you. Anyway, that's for all you web content creators out there. I know some of you are not, so I didn't mean to go off on tangent on that. But finally, as you know, I went and I installed Office 10, and that made certain programs not work anymore that I used. And one of them was Front Page, and I know, good or bad, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I used it for creating show notes, and I couldn't use it to create show notes. So I've been on the rampage to find a new WYSIWYG editor. And of course I have Dreamweaver, but I don't like how Dreamweaver loads on my laptop. It kind of really takes up a lot of resource. So I've been trying some free stuff. I tried Composer, and I didn't like it. Of course, they stopped updating it in 2007. NView was the program that the actual program that Composer was relabeled to, and that was even worse because it wasn't updated since 2005. So now I'm on this program called Trellian. Trellian, not Trillion, but Trellian, Trellian. I got that in the show notes. I can give that a try and see what happens, and of course give you a review on that on the WYSIWYG editor. But if you know of any newer WYSIWYG editors, let me know. Drop me a line over at geekazine@gmail.com. And of course, I might just go back to Dreamweaver. We'll see what happens, but I'm giving it a try. So, all right, let's pay homage to our sponsors and go from there. Hold on a second here. Yeah, that's going to be odd. I'm going to have to bring that laptop a little bit closer. Anyway, GoDaddy still has the GoDaddy CES25 code, and I know some of you are not hip on GoDaddy right now. I understand that, but ladies and gentlemen, realize that they're helping me keep the lights on. And you may go, well, that's we don't support people that shoot elephants. Well, I'm not getting into that whole thing about the elephant, but I'm going to tell you something. There are some good articles out there that make it, not justifiable, but tell you a little bit more about how even though elephants are endangered in certain areas, there are some that are not endangered and some that actually are very harmful. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Make your own decision. If you don't want to use GoDaddy, that's understandable. But if you do want to use GoDaddy, now's the best time to do it. because you're going to get 25% off that already low price if you're a brand new customer. GoDaddy, code CES25. CES25 will get you 25% off. .com's shared hosting, SSL certificates, you name it, 25% off if you're a brand new user. So go over to GoDaddy and do that. And once again, code CES25. All right. Yeah, it's too far away. All right, our main sponsor, of course, is Mozy. Backup now, backup often, backup offsite. Use the code GEEK. GEEK gets you 15% off that already low price. Backup your pictures, your documents, your life on offsite. Rates start at $5.99 a month. But of course, if you use the code GEEK, that gets you an additional 15% off. And of course, if you use the code GEEK and you get yourself Mozy, send me an email of what you liked, what you didn't like about it. Review it for Geekazine, and of course, we'll post all the reviews up on Geekazine, and then we'll draw a winner for a couple free months of Mozy.com. So let me know what you think, what you like or what you don't like. If you don't like it and you want to just get rid of it, and your name gets drawn, of course, I will give you service. I'll give you something else. But if you like Mozy, I'll give you a couple free months on that. Just send me an email over at geekazine@gmail.com. But in the meantime, save yourself 15% by backing up now. Excuse me. Over at geekazine.com using the code GEEK. Of course, a lot of the t-shirts that I use over on the 5 Tech Things You Should Know About are brought to you by Snorg Tees. Go over to geekazine.com, click on the Snorg Tees link, and that'll get you to Snorg Tees. A lot of great stuff here. I like the winning t-shirt. I'm going to have some new t-shirts coming down the road. But my favorite right now is still that when zombies chase us, I'm tripping you, because it's so true. That and sharks hug with their teeth. I like that one too. And of course, finally, the show is brought to you on Wirecast. And of course, if you go over to telestream.com, you get to Wirecast. We got the prices here. And I'm going to show you all the prices and all the features that you can get with Wirecast, because I think that's just as important. I'm going to scroll down here for a second. They've got a full area where you can go and take a look at all that. So that's over at Wirecast, telestream.net/Wirecast. Of course, go over to Geekazine. You can click on the Wirecast link, and that'll get you there as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, without any further ado or don't, let's get into the very big and very happy show for this week. Congratulations to Kansas City. Kansas City, here I come. Kansas City, Google's coming with the fiber. Yeah, of course, if you remember correctly about last year, Google decided, hey, you know, we're gonna see if how many cities really want to push the fact that they want fiber and fiber on into their city. So everybody submitted, hey, we wanted fiber, and of course, Madison, Wisconsin, no different. We also did the fiber thing. And we submitted it, and of course, they reviewed it, and they chose Kansas City as the new fiber city. So congratulations to Kansas City. Actually, Google picked Kansas City, Kansas over Madison in one headline. Oh, I guess these are different headlines. Okay. But actually, I think it makes a little bit sense. You start in one city that's in more of a centralized place, and you move out. Maybe. I don't know. Would that make the most sense? I wouldn't be surprised if Google Fiber started in Kansas, and then next year, of course, picked another city, and then another city. So there were a lot of, I think there was like 1,100 cities that really submitted for that. So congratulations, Kansas City. If you want super speed, super power, super Google fast, then go over to Kansas City, get yourself situated over there. All right, let's move on here. I'm over on Engadget.com. The Blu-rays are coming. Panasonic has come out with a 100 gigabyte rewritable Blu-ray drive. Now, think about that. Back when we had 1 gigabyte drives and we had CD rewritables, that was pretty cool because you could back up a CD rewritable and put that into your case. Now, you've got 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte drives, and you have 100 gigabytes of rewritable data. Now, whether you're going to be moving in a disk, copying data to a disk or not, that's a different story. I personally would probably copy to a hard drive because they're so cheap. I mean, $60 and I can get a 500 gigabyte hard drive, or even a 1 terabyte hard drive if I look really hard. SSDs, solid state drives, are coming very fast. You put about 5 or 10 of them into a storage RAID array, and all of a sudden you have fast protected data. Can't go wrong there. So why would we want 100 gigabyte rewritable Blu-ray discs? Well, movies mostly, maybe. I don't know. There are some different things here, but the biggest thing is it's coming out April 15th. It's $118 US, or 10,000 yen, because it's coming out in Japan first. So would you get yourself... Do you even have a Blu-ray writer or rewriter on your computer? Most of us have DVD writers when you get a laptop or a desktop. So I don't know. It's a great idea, but it'll probably cost you a lot for an old technology. And it really is old technology. So anyway, check it out over on Engadget.com. Congratulations to GigaOM, by the way. GigaOM has celebrated 5-year anniversary. And that's not what we're talking about here, but I wanted to say congratulations to GigaOM. I always say GigaOM, GigaOM. So anyway, more defects. This is over on GigaOM. More defects from Engadget, of course, the site that we just talked about with the Blu-ray discs. Several people, ever since the Huffington Post was purchased out, that several people from AOL and their site Engadget have been defecting. They're going over to a site called SB Nation, which was basically started on the sports world, but now, of course, with the right people there, they're going to try a tech version of that. So is Engadget going to be around too much longer? That's a darn good question. So if you get a lot of your extra news from Engadget, then you might want to think about where you're going for your news. So anyway, check that out. It's over on gigaom.com. Let's move over to PC Mag. AMD is shipping the 32 nanometer Llano chips. I thought it was llama at first. It's like, you want to call it a llama? Llama. But it's a Llano. I don't know what Llano is. Is it a city? I don't know. Anyway, AMD is coming out with 32 nanometer Llano chips, multi-core processors, faster, the A8 3510MX mobile APU, and of course they're combining 1.8 gigahertz quad-core CPU with 4 megabytes of L2 cache and a Direct 11 compatible ATI Radeon HD GPU graphics processor unit that will clock between 500 and 725 megahertz. So not great on the graphics, but not bad. So interesting stuff here. New laptops, new desktops, new tablets could easily be fitted with this Llano chip. So pretty cool stuff over in the tech world. So all right, there was if you haven't heard about this, Apple had this cover flow patent ruling. And basically, there was a company that said that they had this, the Mirror Worlds, I believe, had a patent on cover flow, which basically what it meant was when you looked at the screen of your iPod, you had the cover right here, and you had the other ones kind of sitting at an angle, like you were flipping through your music, and then you just flip to the next one, and the side angle would then flatten out and then go back to a side angle. That's what cover flow is. Apparently, they said this company, Mirror Worlds, had a patent on it, and they filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Apple in 2008, March of 2008. It was ruled against Apple in 2010, in October, and they said that Apple would have to pay Mirror Worlds $208.5 million for the 3 of the patents that they hold. They found that, of course, Apple appealed, and he found that it wasn't really close to the Mirror World's patents. Whether it was or not, maybe it was just good law-abiding defenders. I don't know. Apple might have just squeaked out of that one. But I would turn around and I'd still give Mirror World something out of that whole thing. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that this is bunk for this company Mirror Worlds? They lose out big time. Apple's with their big time lawyers found a loophole or something like that. Let me know. Geekazine@gmail.com. You can read more about this over on Mac Observer. And of course, 608-205-4378 is the phone number. You can always call and leave a voicemail message. We don't get too many of those as of late, so feel free to call. All right, let's move over to Bloomberg here. You probably heard about this, of course, Eric Schmidt. A couple weeks ago, Eric Schmidt stepped down from Google as CEO, and they ended up getting Larry Page come back and run Google now that it's at its stability, at its set point, whatever. There are some people that don't like it, and apparently Jonathan Rosenberg might be one of them. He said in an email statement, he said that he is resigning from Google's products, including consumer and business services. So pretty cool, pretty interesting stuff. We don't know if this is a good or a bad thing. If you think it's good or a bad thing, or you know more about it, let me know. Geekazine@gmail.com. And but in the meantime, that's what's happening over at Google. There's going to be a major shift, so we might see some more exodus from Google, just like we're seeing exodus from AOL, and we'll go from there. So check that out over on Bloomberg. All right. Speaking of movements in different areas, I met Jeffrey Katzenberg in last year. Pretty cool guy, but he's joining Zynga's board. Zynga, of course, does all the games. And, of course, I'm assuming that's because him being part of DreamWorks wants to have Zynga games after Kung Fu Panda and Shrek and stuff like that. So he gets on the board with them. Doesn't mean much. I mean, it's like Eric Schmidt being on the board of Apple. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But it is what it is. So, why'd that reload? There must be a timeout reload on that page. I should do that. Anyway, so Jeffrey Katzenberg is going to be on the Zynga board, so I'd expect some DreamWorks games to be coming out and see what happens from there. All right, where was I? There I am. Hello, how you doing? I'm just I'm trying to do something here while I'm working here, so small little problem. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, you just heard me babble for about 20 seconds. That's what I do on Geekazine. Thank you. Let's go over to TechCrunch. Speaking of Zynga, they acquired the team behind online poker statistics called Poker Table Ratings. It was an acquisition from Market Zero, and they did this thing called Poker Table Ratings. I'm assuming that this is something for Zynga Poker so they can develop better games. And pretty interesting stuff. Just kind of a little side note here, so you might see some more Zynga poker games out there. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we need another poker game out there? We'll see what happens. TechCrunch.com if you want to read more on that. Of course, go to the show notes and you'll get all the links to that. All right, camera world. If you are a camera geek, Nikon's coming out with the D5100 DSLR camera. I'm very excited about this camera because they have the ability to really put on some good microphones on their camera. Now check this out. I'm going to zoom in on the camera. There it is, right there. The D5100, you can see a little boom mic on that. I believe they'll be able to capture 1080p and 720p movies at 24 or 30 frames per second. Now, the low light on some of these cameras are completely blowing away certain cameras. And in fact, when we were out at CES, I saw more DSLRs acting as movie cameras than I did actual regular full-size cameras because they're smaller, they're easier to move around. You put on a little stabilizer on the camera, and all of a sudden you've got this powerful camera that's going to give you high-quality video. And, of course, with the boom mic, you'll be able to do more. I'm hoping that that's just a regular input so I could actually put in a wireless mic, and all of a sudden, you've changed the way you're doing video. D5100 has same ISO range. It's 100 to 6400, and they can expand once you put in different lenses up to 25,600. It has a 16.2 megapixel, 23.3 by 15.6 millimeter CMOS sensor, and the prices are just amazing. Let's see, the D5100 with an update is $630. The D3100 is $700, and the D7000 is $1,200. So if you are a camera geek out there, you might want to take a look at this, do some updates. I'm thinking of where my next camera purchase is, video camera wise, and I might just choose the Nikon over that because I can do still pictures, and video with great sound. Can't go wrong. All right, let's move on here. We're going over to CNN.com asking the question, why isn't Nintendo making a phone? Well, apparently Nintendo has said, hey, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We're going to focus on video games. And, of course, with all the issues in Japan right now, I can understand why. They just don't want to spend a lot of time or effort on it, and because they're trying to rebuild. First of all, I don't know. Anyway, so they don't want to plan, and this doesn't mean anything. They could say, yeah, no, we're not planning to build a phone, and then tomorrow say, hey, look at our phone, look at our Nintendo phone, NES phone. I don't know. So it's up to you to make that decision. Are they going to make a Nintendo phone or not? Do you think that this is just a ploy, a cover, a ruse, a facade? Let me know. Geekazine over at gmail.com or 608-205-4378. 437-N. I was saying CNN. Go over to CNN.com. Of course, go to the show notes. You'll get to the link. Hulu. I've been playing with Hulu Plus on my Roku. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not really impressed with Hulu Plus. Simply because of the fact that a lot of the shows I cannot get on Roku. I have to go to the website to get. Like The Simpsons. Perfect example. TV show. I cannot get, or V, that's another one, I cannot get on Hulu Plus for Roku. And, you know, I'm paying the same price for the Roku Hulu Plus as the web PC Hulu Plus. And I know a lot of people can say, well, you just hook up a computer to your TV, and then you've got Hulu Plus on the computer. And I do. I do have a computer hooked up to the TV. But it means switching over. I just don't want to do that. That's why I wanted the Roku. So, and the other problems I have with Hulu Plus on Roku, it's tough to find certain shows. Like, for instance, I'll give you a good example. There's a Spike TV show called 1,000 Ways to Die, and it's on Hulu right now, on Hulu Plus. But when on the new episodes, new TV shows, episodes that show up, it doesn't show up in that list. I actually have to go to the actual TV show to find that there's a new episode that's uploaded. And that's kind of sad. I mean, the whole idea of new episodes means what's new. And, of course, they've been uploading all these old TV shows like MacGyver and 21 Jump Street and stuff like that. And when you go to the newest episodes, you look through that, and all of a sudden you have to go through 7 seasons of 21 Jump Street to find, you know, I don't know, Glee or Dancing with the Stars, the latest episode of that. So I think it's their Hulu, their Roku application is just horrible. Horrible. So Hulu Plus as a whole, I suppose if you're watching a lot of TV, it's great. But I would recommend on the PC. So, and a lot of people agree with me because Hulu shares have just hit 500 million in revenues. They had 50% more advertisers in the first quarter of 2011 than in 2010. CEO Jason Kyler is revealed their results, and they said they earned about 300 million through Hulu in 2011, and they boast 289 advertisers. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't like Hulu. In fact, I've actually there's a little area where it's like, hey, submit your videos, your TV shows, and of course I've submitted the Geekazine videos for Hulu. I wouldn't mind if Hulu played some of my videos. It's more revenue for me. So good stuff. You're going to see a lot of stuff coming out on Hulu, so check that out. Mashable.com if you want to read more. All right. My phone's going off here. Oh, of course. Sorry about that. The heck? All right. Sorry about that. Apparently, my Stitcher just I listened to Stitcher on my iPhone, of course. And when the phone rang and it stopped ringing, it went back into Stitcher for some reason. Kind of weird. Anyway, let's move on here because we got still a lot of great content to cover. Over on Macworld, there's a new iPhone software. It's called Photolapse, and it lets you create time-shortened movies. It's a time-lapse software. So you do some time-lapse photography, and then you create a video out of it. So if you've got the iPhone, you want to check that out, go over to type in Photolapse on your search, and of course go to the show notes, and of course we'll get you the link to that so you can get to Photolapse if you want to give that a try. All right, back over on CNN, Windows 8 is coming soon. There are some screenshots, and of course this screenshot right here is the blue screen of death for Windows 8. But there are some snapshots out there of Windows 8, so you can check that out if you are a Windows 8 fanatic and you want to see what the next version of Windows is going to look like. I bet you it's going to look pretty close to Windows 7. Just going to have some cool little advances here. Going back over to TechCrunch, Kevin Rose has started a new company. Of course, he left Dig a little while back. He started a new company called Milk. It is, some people are saying it's an incubator, but it's not really an incubator. It's kind of a quasi-incubator for certain people. I guess more of a highbrow, you've already have to be accepted type incubator from what I've read here. But there's still a lot of different back and forth up on this. So you can check out Kevin Rose's new project over on TechCrunch. There's a Google April Fool's joke. Of course, you probably saw this video. It's called Google Motion, and the whole idea was there was a guy where you could actually create email by moving around. Well, apparently, somebody said, you know, and I kind of thought this myself. It's like, what if I took Connect and did the same thing? And that's what this video is about, is this guy actually took, I believe it was a Connect, and he put it up on a TV, and he did some programming, and next thing you know, he's moving around and he's doing Google Motion and creating emails through different gestures. Now, I suppose you can't do everything, and I suppose and it would be cool if you kind of put out your 10 fingers like this, and you type like this, and you go, let me see if I can think of it. The space quick. I can't do it in the air, but you know, it's kind of like typing in the air. All of a sudden, you're typing in the air, and it's working. It's typing an email or something like that. Or you just do this, and it's like, thanks, see you later, or something like, you know, I don't know, dear John, I don't know, something like that. So, but he's taken a April Fool's joke and turned it into reality. We're going to be talking about another possible April Fool's trick. We're not 100% sure about this article. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but you'll see what happens here. That's over on Tom's Hardware Guide if you want to check that out. Moving over to Information Week, we find out in 2010 that web attacks have skyrocketed 93% in 2010. I'm assuming this is because they can't, their email attacks have pretty much lowered down. So they might as well go after the web stuff. I'm assuming it's because of all the cool little things that you can do with websites, and a lot of security vulnerabilities that could be out there. I'm also assuming because a lot of people just want to see video. And how many times have you gone on Facebook and it said, hey, I got naked in this video, and you clicked on it, and of course it was a web attack. So be careful out there. Because there are people out there that are trying to get your money, trying to get your credentials. Symantec had the full report. They said there's a lot of we basically had about 262,000 identities exposed per one data breach incident. And of course, this takes up billions of dollars, and you could lose your life savings. You could go into bankruptcy simply because of a web attack. So one thing that you want to do, you go to a web page, and then instantly all of a sudden goes to the login page, or a login page, like a Facebook login page, and you need to get into Facebook for some reason. Don't go through that way. Just close out the window, open up a new window, and type in facebook.com, and then put in your credentials that way, and then find it through facebook.com. Don't let a web page open up a secure web page like PayPal, like your bank account statement, or anything like that. I told you a couple weeks ago when we had the Japan issues, the earthquake, not to use links from certain web pages. Just go to redcross.org and donate that way. If anybody's trying to make money off of the disaster because they've got a link going to redcross.org, that's not right anyway. So I think that if you definitely want to go to Red Cross, I think you can also text at 90999 or something like that, and you can text money to Red Cross Relief. That's also a good way. But there's going to be a lot of new ways that we can expose the web, have fun on the web, watching video, listening to audio, so on and so forth. And there's going to be people trying to get your money from there. So anyway, check that out, informationweek.com. All right. If you need to count some calories, all you have to do is go to this application for the iPhone, and you take a picture of your meal, and it's going to tell you how many calories you got to a certain point. You take the picture of the meal, they'll take care of the rest. They'll tell you how many calories. So by the time you're done eating, you'll know how many calories, how much fat, or how much salt or something like that. I don't know. I'm assuming that they've also got something in there to take pictures of barcodes to give you nutrition information. So pretty interesting stuff. I think this is not a free app. Doesn't say here, but it's if you're counting your calories, this might be the way to do it. So check that out. That's over on TechCrunch.com. Zag is giving away this month an iPod a day. I've got that into the show notes. So go over to Geekazine.com. You can click on that and you get yourself a chance to win. All you have to do is enter your name and email address every single day to win yourself an iPod. Last month they did iPads, so they're doing iPod now. So finally, let's go over to MSNBC.com for part one, the end of part one here. How blind people see on the internet. They had a very interesting article. John Herman or something like that. It talks about the different programs that people use if they have vision impairments, including a Braille reader, including a program that actually talks back to you when you're looking at a screen. It's actually reading it all back to you. So check that out over at msnbc.com. That brings us to the end of part one, very long part one. We got a video here, and hopefully this thing, I'm just going to reload this page while I got the chance. We got this thing called Teflon Spatula City with a Teflon spatula. Pretty cool stuff. We're going to take a look at this as I load up part two, and we're going to get you right back on the Geekazine weekly podcast. We'll be right back. Hello. That's not the screen I wanted. There we go. Thank you. All right, we are back. Welcome to the second part of the Geekazine Weekly Podcast. I'm looking like I'm going to go a little bit over what I normally do, 50 minutes. So, of course, I added a whole ton more of links here, trying some new stuff here. So, if you think there's too much content, let me know. Geekazine@gmail.com or 608-205-4378. Or if there's not enough content, if you want me to do more. I'm going to try and do some more geek stuff, kind of get we're still going to primarily tech, but there's other geeks out there, like, for instance, the camera geeks, and we're going to be talking to some other geeks, the crossword puzzle geeks, in a couple seconds here on a link that I got out there. So what we saw was, for all you spatula geeks over on the video area, from ogizmo.com, and it was a Teflon spatula, robotic spatula. So you'll have to go over to the video side and check that out, of course. Of course, if you're listening to the audio, thank you very much for listening to the audio. 608-205, 4378 is the phone number. Geekazine@gmail.com is the email address. Feel free to call or write and with any questions. All right, question of the week. Did you read Engadget? Do you think that things are going to change because now of the major Engadget exodus? Go over to Geekazine.com and participate in that poll. And, of course, like I said, the video was the robot spatula. All right, let's get into part 2 here. And this is the other April Fool's joke. There's a lot of people that are thinking that it is an April Fool's joke. But if you think about it, it's very possible that this could be done. And what it is it looks like an old canister for a 35mm camera, and it's exactly what you're thinking. You put in this canister. I'm assuming there's a little tab on it. You stretch that tab out, and you hook it up to the other end. And then as you take a picture and advance it, take another picture and advance it, it puts it onto digital, like a USB drive. So your old 35mm camera might become a useful camera again, taking digital stills. Of course, you take out the cartridge, and then you then turn around and plug the USB drive into the computer, and you download your digital pictures. Now, once again, a lot of people feel that this was a April Fool's joke, but there were a lot of things that kind of made it feel like it might not be. And nobody's come out and said April Fools on this. So not 100% on this one. But think about it. If somebody's developed, and it's very possible that this technology could exist. If somebody's developed a cool way for you to use your 35mm camera, your old film 35mm camera, to take digital pictures, would you get out your 35mm camera? I know I would. So, and I do have one. A Canon, no, yeah, it's a Canon. Can't even remember what kind it is. It's sitting in a tote somewhere. So that would be kind of cool. So you want to check out more, that's over on device.com. Of course, go to the show notes, and that'll get you there. Really interesting article over on finance.yahoo.com. If you have a job and you have a CEO that's gotten a perk, this is something you want to read. There's a lot of CEOs get a lot of cool perks, like bonus money. They could have fired like 100, 200, 1,000 employees, and then all of a sudden they got a $1 million bonus or something like that. There's an article over here on yahoo.com that talks about different CEOs that got some great bonuses for whatever. And the question is, do they really deserve these bonuses? If they had to fire a whole bunch of people, if they had to, I know that the BP executives got some bonuses, even though there was a major oil spill. So that's something to discuss, the inner workings of the politics of things. But a pretty interesting read over here. The article's officially from Kiplinger, but you can check it out over on yahoo.com. All right, Verizon and Metro PCS had a what's the word? I can't think. A lawsuit. That's the word. Breathe. Okay, here we go. Verizon and Metro PCS had a lawsuit over net neutrality with the the FCC, Federal Communications Commission. The court ruled this last week that it does, basically it was an appeals court on Verizon Wireless and Metro PCS challenging FCC's net neutrality rules. And the court decided that does not pass judgment on the FCC rules. They threw out the suits on a technicality. When Verizon and Metro PCS filed them, they filed them too soon, which is something that happens, I guess, a lot. Is people jump a gun, and they start collecting information. They don't read all the rules for a certain lawsuit to be valid. And so you gotta, if you decide that you don't like something, whether it's technical, political, it's a lawsuit or whatever, then you might want to read the rules for filing anything, because you might be doing it out of haste simply because of the fact you don't like what's going on. So just read rules. Anyway, that's over at pcmag.com if you want to check out more. All right, check this out. You know, if you've ever done a crossword puzzle, this is for all the crossword geeks out there. If you've ever done a crossword puzzle, you know, sometimes the big one is the Sunday Times and the New York Times crossword puzzle, and it's a very challenging crossword puzzle. I've done many a crossword puzzle. I know friends that are just crossword puzzle fanatics. They have movies on it. But apparently there was one person. My phone's going off again. Hold on a second here. There. Phone's not going to bother us again. All right, so there was a person, Sylvia Bernstein, creating Sunday crosswords for the Times since 1980. She passed away on December 30th. Her last puzzle was published on January 9th. Merle Regal took over, and he made a small little change. Apparently, there's a lot of things a lot of titles, a lot of names that have numbers in their titles. Like, for instance, they had in this one, where was it? And in most crossword puzzles, you're not spelling out the number. Like, for instance, TV show, 48 hours. It was always 4-8, the number 4, the number 8 hours. And so they decided that they're actually going to start putting numbers into the crossword puzzles, which brings up a new level of complexity with crossword puzzles, because now you're not thinking 26 letters. You're thinking a lot more than that. Now, it's not going to include spaces. You're not going to get hyphens or quotes or colons or anything like that just yet. But I would guess within time, you could get parentheses, open quotes, close quotes. I suppose you could go completely wild on it and put all the marks in there. You could even put in words that are in Arabic. You could put in words that are in French. You know. You can use the Spanish alphabet as opposed to the English alphabet, and make it even more challenging. But for now, the Times crossword puzzle is going to have numbers in it. So if you are and some people are against this because it's not true, but you might have a little bit more challenge with your crossword puzzles. What do you think? Do you think that numbers should be in crossword puzzles? Does it matter? Let me know. Geekazine@gmail.com or 608-205-4378. All right, news we talked about at the beginning here. Libya, of course, is having a war. And, of course, they have the top-level domain .ly, which means that at any point in time, they can control how you use your .ly. To a certain extent, they basically they get the .ly top level domain from the ICANN, and so they can pretty much say if you get a domain name, they could say, you know, I don't like the fact that you have bit.ly. I think we could just completely nix it. And of course, they don't do that. There's some legalities back that they have to follow to get this all to happen. But now that there's a Libyan war going on, how is this going to affect your .ly website? And I've always said this, a lot of these people don't get generic level domains. And this is, the .com, the .edu, the .org. Those are generic, which means that ICANN controls them. But then you have the other top-level domains, like .ly for Libya, .tv for Tanzania, whatever it is. And they could just sit there and they say, okay, we're done. Turn it off. You got a .tv. We don't like what you're doing. Turn it off. And it's not a legality thing. You could say, oh, yeah, you're too popular. We're going to just shut you down. They could. Of course, .tv is making way too much money. Probably .ly is making way too much money off their top-level domains as well. But it's very possible that all of a sudden a political war, like something like in China, where China's saying, yeah, no, we're shutting down the whole internet. Libya could easily do that. And they say, we're shutting down .ly. And then all of a sudden your business is like, no website. Any website that you have with, like, for instance, bit.ly, bit.ly, perfect example. What happens if Libya says, no, we're turning off all the LYs? And we've got, like, I know I use a lot of bit.ly. Like, for instance, if you want to go to the Geek poll, you type in http://bit.ly/geek poll, and that gets you to Geekazine's poll of the week. And all of a sudden, Libya says, okay, shut down the LYs. Like I said, chances of that happening, pretty low. Possibilities there. It's just probability is very low that it's going to happen. But it still could happen. And so just one of the things that you want to think about, where's your backup contingency plan? Do you have a .com that you can back up to, or another generic top-level domain that you don't have to, you can reroute things to? I know that the people won't think of bit.com. And I bet you if you go to bit.com, it's not even owned by this person, so they'll have to figure out something else. So, something to think about. Anyway, you want to read more about this over on Business Insider, but that is why it's so important to get something like a .com first, and then focus on the .tvs, the .lys, because then you have a solid game plan and a fail-safe if a problem happens. All right, last part of part 2. We're going to get you on your merry way. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Fergie. Fergie Lego dress. A lot of kids and a lot of older young men's fantasies have come true as Fergie has donned on the Lego dress. It's made with, how many Legos was it made with? I read this out. Oh, maybe I didn't read it on this one, but it was, Fergie was wearing it, and of course they have a disassembly, which is not safe for work. It was a Guinness World Record for simultaneous erected Lego towers, was also set on that night. The Black Eyed Peas picked up the award for favorite music group, beating Big Time Rush and Jonas Brothers and Lady Antebellum. So it was pretty cool. Check out the Fergie Lego dress, and yes, there is a not safe for work version. As I guess she's taken off the dress or something like that. I don't know. I haven't looked at it, so check that out. And this is over on methodshop.com. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that does bring us to the end of the Geekazine Weekly Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did, our little time together. Let's come back next week and talk. I encourage you, come on back next week. Download the show, download the video. We're going to try and get the video resolved for iPhone users, so you can watch Geekazine Weekly Podcast. Of course, you can always download the audio. That's going to work no matter what. Work under a Creative Commons no deriv license, which means you can give this show to your friends freely with no charge. But if you start charging them, I need my cut. So, thanks a lot to everybody that has watched and listened to the show these years. I'd like to thank everybody for coming and downloading this show. Of course, we do this every single Wednesday. So, for the Geekazine Weekly Podcast, my name is Jeffrey Powers. Until next week, you can find me on Twitter, on Facebook, and everywhere else and we will be right back here next Wednesday. So take care. Thanks a lot for watching.